Hey there, nation. Welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and we are back with another episode of Blood for the Blood God. This is our series of videos where it talks about the painting, building, and playing of our 3,000 point Chaos Legion of Khorne army list. And this is episode number 3. And on this episode, we're going to show you a little bit more of the updates that we actually made to this army. So as you can see in this picture, about 1/3 of the army, actually not about a third, I would say about a half. Half of the army is pretty much painted on this one. We've made a little bit of progress since the last time we shot this video. We've been having a lot of projects going on, a lot of things going on in my personal life, so because of that, I haven't been able to really get to the nitty-gritty of painting these guys up. So for the most part, there has been some updates, but not as much progress as I would like to have had. So, the last time we talked about this army, we talked about the Sons of Arbal Destroyer, so we talked about that cavalry unit. We've talked about the Flayers of the 8 Points, which is this huge unit of Bloodletters. We've talked about our 5 Flesh Hounds of Khorne. Same thing with Karanak, the Hound of Khorne. The only real additions we've made since then, of course, is this unit of 5 Chaos Warhounds. So we have these guys here, as well as our character, our little proxy we're using for Skull Taker, our Herald of Khorne special character, which is this guy right here. So like I said before, this unit would actually be led by Skull Taker, so we actually have him painted up. Same thing with those Chaos Warhounds. Like I said, not much progress has been made since the last time we did this, is because a lot of our personal stuff's been going on in my personal life. I haven't really been able to get to work on this like I would like to. But just like always, we're going to talk about the design concept as well as the how we went about creating these miniatures. So first of all, we're going to focus on are these 5 Chaos Warhounds. We're going to talk about those guys first. Alright, so the very first unit we're going to talk about is this unit of 5 Chaos Warhounds. This unit's called the Fangs of Mir, is what they're called. And as you can see, they're just 5 basic Flesh Hounds, not Flesh Hounds, just basic Chaos Warhounds real quick. Let's go ahead and take a look at these guys real fast. We're going to turn these sideways so that we can take a look at their side profiles real quick. So this unit was actually very quick to paint, very easy to put together as well. As you can see, they just kind of did a really quick job on these guys real fast. We decided to kind of go with this little gray fur. That's what I kind of decided to go with. It's exactly the same shade of gray skyline that I used for the rims of the bases as well. The reason why I went with that gray color is because Flesh Hounds are kind of like ambushing units a little bit. You're supposed to use them as vanguards that kind of blend in with the background. So to help with that whole stealth look, I decided it'd be kind of a cool idea if they kind of match the ground color as well, to make it look like they blended a little bit as well. So their fur primarily has been painted with Skyline, which of course we dry brushed with Granite Gray by Apple Barrel Paints to give it that kind of like that 3D layered effect as well. The flesh was actually painted up with a color called Moccasin Brown. It's made by Folk Art. And then dry brushed another brown called Territorial Beige. That's made by Apple Barrel. The fangs and claws and tusks and stuff are all painted up using Khaki by Apple Barrel Paint. We also use Crisp Green with things like the little boils and little defects that they have on their body as well. We also use magenta, bright magenta for Apple Barrel Paint for things like the miniature tentacles as well as the injuries and things of that nature as well. And then of course we also gave a very healthy dose of blood effect, our homemade blood effect that we talked about in previous videos, for the fangs as well as their mouths. Make it look like they've been muzzling something and eating them alive. And same thing with the injuries on them. And then for the parts that are covered in like these boils and pustules, we've covered that with homemade Nurgle's Rot effect. We don't buy Nurgle's Rot because that stuff's expensive. I showed a video how you can make that using polyacrylic as well as green ink. To make that effect, you can make ounces of that stuff for pennies on the dollar. It's very similar to the gore effect that we use for the bases and for the gore effect for this army. And we just kind of painted that as well to give them like a nice little, diseased, kind of mangy kind of look to them as well. And then of course the bases are exactly the same bases that we use for the rest of the army as well. We base coated in pavement, dry brushed with gray, and then with granite gray. We then put, of course, a healthy dose of homemade blood effect on the bases to make it look like they're running through a boggy, ashen wasteland. And then we rim the entire thing in Skyline to make it kind of break up the army. So you can see these 5 Chaos Warhounds look really good against the rest of the army as well. They kind of blend in thematically with the bases, and they look absolutely fantastic as well. Like I said, a very quick paint job was put on these guys. These guys were very easy to make real quick and also put together real fast. So those guys are the Fangs of Mir. So with that unit left over, the last thing we talk about is the latest addition to the army, which is our Skull Taker proxy that we have for this army as well. So we're going to talk about this guy next. Alright, so the last thing that we painted for this army, of course, so far is Skull Taker. This is the special character that is from the Chaos Demon of Khorne, special character. Skull Taker, he's a Herald of Khorne special character that's like the head taker. He collects skulls for Khorne. And the miniature that we use for this guy is a classic Bloodthirster of Khorne, also known as a Greater Demon of Khorne, from the classic era of Warhammer Fantasy Battle. This miniature was a pewter model that came out in the 4th edition of Warhammer Fantasy Battle. As you can see, these classic miniatures are not as big as the ones that we currently have today. So as you can see, is the paint job that we did for him real quick. We painted him a bright red color to kind of make him match up with the rest of the bloodletters. Pretty much the same color scheme I used for the bloodletters I did exactly on him, because he's supposed to be, one of them. So basically just True Red by Anita's Anita's paint, dry brush with Tropical Coral to give him that orange look to his skin. So that way you can see like his mouth and stuff. And then the rest, of course, is a lot of metallic paints. Gunmetal Gray by Folk Art, Anniversary Gold. Sorry, not Anniversary Silver. Just Gold by Folk Art as well. We also use copper for Folk Art too. As you can see, we paint up his armor to make it kind of like a reddish color, rimmed in gold. We use the gunmetal for all the designs on his armor and stuff. So it's very, very cool. Did a quick paint job with him. Also used our quick paint method with some poly shades. What's cool about him, of course, we use the gore effect on his whip to make it look like he's been beating people up. Same thing with blood effect on his axe, make it look like he's been chopping off heads and collecting them for Khorne. And this is what the old Bloodthirster, classic Bloodthirster character used to look like back in the day. Not very big at all. In fact, he's also supposed to come with a pair of wings, but I never got the chance to find those pair of wings, so that's why that's empty right there as well. And this is the proxy they're going to use for Skull Taker, so that way he can lead this unit as well. It looks very, very nice. Typical base formation that we did the bases with the blood effect. Same in the gray and the skyline as well. All in all, really happy with the way this guy came out. This guy was actually pretty quick to paint as well, considering. Basically what I decided to do is just, I spray painted the entire miniature in gold. Is what I did with some gold spray paint, because he's got a lot of gold, scroll work all over his armor, so that's a real pain to paint. So I spray painted the entire thing gold, and then of course I just add gore effect and stuff to it, if any mistakes I might have made, and just painting the armor panels and stuff to make it look like it's really neat. So I'm just really happy with the way that that guy came out with as well. Let's see if I can put it back in the unit without messing it up. There we go. Well, it's close enough. But yeah, so as you can see there, it makes it to a huge unit of 24 bloodletters, if you add them into the base as well. I can run them as a proxy Skull Taker. I can run them as a unit filler for 4 more bloodletters to make this even 24, or whatever the case I wanted to use them for as well. And he just completes the unit as well. So yeah, that makes up the flayers of the 8 points, that unit with Skull Taker, as well as the Fangs of Mir. Now I'm going to do one more thing before you complete. I'm actually going to do something different with these with this episode. I'm going to show you what's currently on my painting bench, so that way you can see exactly what I'm currently working on for the army right now. And you can see with how like a work in progress type situation, so that way you can see exactly what I'm working on and how I'll eventually be added to this unit as well. So with that, let's go ahead and go directly to my paint bench, and we're going to talk about exactly what I'm working on next. Alright, so here we are at my painting station. As you can see, it is covered in all kinds of paint and stains, and there's my brushes and my palettes. Same thing with my current projects and stuff. If you follow us on Facebook, you've actually seen this table quite a bit. If you follow us up on Facebook and Instagram as well, because I always update progressions on projects I'm currently working on with works in progress shots and stuff. So if you actually viewed those other media accounts, you've definitely seen our updates to our units. And this right here is the current unit I'm working on. This one's taking forever and a day, I don't mind telling you. This is a unit of 30 Chaos Marauders that we're slowly putting together. As you can see there, there's actually quite a bit of work still need to be done on these guys as well. These 4 guys up in the front, the reason why they're not in the same formation is because these guys are relatively done. These guys, all their base coating and dry brushing is complete. I just got to put an oil wash on these with some poly shades, some Mission Oak poly shade by Minwax to do the quick paint method on that part. So as you can see, there's actually quite bright, these miniatures. They're quite chalky looking, as well as quite bright in terms of their color. until you put that oil wash on it, and then it kind of blends all the colors together as well. And if you notice, the skin on these Chaos Marauders are all bright red. Now, if you're wondering why I'm doing that, it's because when I was painting this unit together, I was looking at different pictures of different Marauders and Blood Reavers and all that kind of stuff that's out there on the internet, and they all relatively look the same, and they look kind of boring to me. Anybody's ever watched my channel before knows I'm a fan of bright, bold color. So because of that, it looked kind of boring to me, so I wanted to jazz it up a little bit, and I was inspired by a video game called Fallout New Vegas. In that game, Fallout New Vegas, there's a downloadable content pack called the Lonesome Road. In that download pack, you go to this place called Hopeville, and you go to it's another expansion of the game. But in that game, you meet a bunch of characters called the Marked Men, is what they're called. And there are these ghouls in that game that have their skin is what they are. They've been skinned alive, and so their flesh is exposed to the outside because of radiation and dust storms and all kinds of stuff. So they have this kind of gory red skinned look to them that I thought looked really cool. And I was thinking about it, if you are a servant to the blood god Khorne, blood and all that stuff is what he likes, so why not? Why wouldn't you have a warband of dudes who look like they've been skinned alive and fighting on the battlefield? And that's exactly what I've done for these guys. I've decided to go with that kind of route, the Marked Men look that we actually have there. So as you can see here, they're bright red. You can see some of the texturing on their muscles I did with some dry brushing. Let me see if I can zoom in here without looking at too dark. There you go. So you can see a little bit of the dry brushing that I've done with some of the brighter colors as well. I've used different sherbet shades of pinks, oranges, and magentas from Apple Barrel paint in order to make this skinned look for them as well. There's actually quite a bit of metal in these guys. As you can see, their trousers are different shades of black and gray to clash with the red. I've also used this really sharp accent color, this Tahitian blue color, to act as an accent piece for all the wrappings and cordings and stuff on their grips and their weapons and things, to add some accent color to it to make it look a little bit different. Same thing with the scars on their bodies. I've painted out in bright green to make it look like it's glowing. So this one's going to look really, really awesome by the time it's all said and done. I've still got a lot of work to do. I have 4 that are fully done, so that way I can then, put the oil wash on, then we'll even complete with them. As you can see there, I got a ton more that I got to go through. Just a lot of work. And the reason why is because there's over 30 of these guys. That's the reason why it's taking so long to put these guys together. As you can see, these guys are primarily Blood Reavers from the Age of Sigmar line of miniatures, because they look really cool and they look like what Marauders should look like. And of course I got my little unit filler here in the back with the banners. Also got a Slaughter Priest in here, as well as the Blood Stoker, I think is what he's called. So yeah, and that's the work that's going on with these guys next. So once these guys are done, then a big chunk of the army will be completed. After that, I just have some Blood Crushers, as well as some Chaos Chosen I got to paint up still, and that'll be it. But yeah, that's the progress we made so far on that. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the progress we made so far for our 3,000 point Chaos Legion of Khorne army. So that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Blood for the Blood God. Like I said, the army is slowly coming along. Just balancing this project with some other things I'm trying to get done, and hopefully I'll be able to get back on pace again, get back on track, and get a lot more of this done for you guys. But yeah, really happy with the way it's coming out so far, and it's looking really awesome. It's not looking all monochromatic and boring like most Khorne Legion armies or Khorne army look. So, super excited about that part. So that's going to do for this week, guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest, greatest hobby news on this channel. And especially if you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, you'll definitely be able to see the live progress of this army as we go through it. So that's good news for this one, you guys. You guys stay classy. Peace out, you guys, and stay classy.